Okay, so party systems refer to the basic patterns of relationships among political parties. So, party systems on Western countries' influence come from two major events. This comes from number one, conflict between dominant national cultures, which resulted in cleavages, and cleavages are social divisions where people from distinct groups have values and beliefs, and they create organizations to reflect their different values and beliefs. The second was the Industrial Revolution, which created a cleavage between agriculture interests and new industrialist interests. So, the raising of new issues such as concern about environment and other issues can create new parties, but new parties still, to some extent, reflect their cleavages, which is their social divisions where they come up with collective identities and interests to develop organizations such as political parties. Ideology and the party system. So almost every party does feature an ideological competition, and what tends to happen during elections and campaigns, parties will adopt similar positions to win elections. But there has been a tendency for parties to represent some segments of society that they see are moving forward and becoming popular. Not only that, but when new parties are formed, older parties will start to shape their platforms based on what these newer parties are aiming for so that they don't lose their support. So there are different types of parties. There's two-party, multi-party, and one-party dominant systems. And they're usually analyzed in terms of the number of parties that they have. Two-party systems always results in a majority government, as there's just two parties contending for being the head of government. This type of system is in the States. Multi-parties are the most democratic system, and they have three or more parties with significant representation. A 2+ party system usually includes like two main parties and other. So there are more than two parties, but the two main parties usually get most of the votes. But there are smaller parties that do prevent from time to time all of these votes going to these two main parties. A moderate multi-party system has 3 or 5 significant parties that receive less than 1/4 of the seats. And many countries can be seen as having a multi-party system, including Canada. Fragmented multi-party systems have so many parties that it's very hard for any party to get a majority seat because there are so many of them, and these systems usually form coalitions because they can never get a majority government. Now, a one-party dominant system is when a single party rules for a very long period of time because the opposition is divided among a number of parties and it's very hard for them to be opposed. This system is favored in non-democratic countries and opposition is not favored against them. Countries with proportional representation will usually have more significant parties than countries that have single-member plurality electoral system. So Canada has used the single-member system. The Liberals and the Conservatives have continued to dominate, except for forming a coalition government during World War I.